All right, guys. So today I just wanted to kind of talk about some unused sections of stadiums, MLB and NFL. Really not going to be talking about arenas because outside of the Carrier Dome, with arenas, limited capacity, you're not going to see any tarps in an NBA upper deck or anything like that. It's very rare. But these are places in NFL and MLB stadiums. Mainly, I want to talk about modern places, but we also have a few older ones with all the multi-purpose stadiums and things like that. But the first one we're going to be looking at is the tarps at Tropicana Field. Now, I touched on a previous video with how bad it's gotten for the Rays in their attendance. They've actually completely eliminated selling tickets for their upper deck. I'm intrigued if they'll sell tickets for opening day. Honestly, I don't think they will. I think the upper deck might legitimately be empty for opening day for the Rays this coming month or whenever it is, whenever their home opener is. So that'll be funny, but people don't know just how big Tropicana Field's upper deck actually is. It kind of jets upward and goes, right up to where the roof is. And they always have a lot of tarps covering most of it. They have taken the tarps off a few times. Like back when they made the World Series, that David Price, when he was a rookie, that crazy run, they did take them off. But other than that, they're pretty much a fixture at this point to Tropicana Field, tarping off much of the upper portions of the upper deck there. The next one, kind of a unique little quirk here with Fenway Park. It being such an older, stadium, it doesn't have a proper batter's eye. So during day games, there's like 3 sections within that center field little V that are tarped off during day games because for the batters, it's hard for them to see the ball up against, people wearing different colored shirts during the day. Now at night, this isn't as much of a problem, so those sections are sold, but during the day, if you're ever wondering why is that tarped off, kind of weird because Fenway, there's no reason to tarp it off. It's not like they have attendance problems or anything like that. The reason is because of the batter's eye, and it happens during day games. So whenever there's a day game, expect to see that tarped off there. During night games, they take it off. And I was reading a little article about how when they have the day-night doubleheaders, it becomes a problem because it's off and then on. So it becomes a little bit of an issue there. The next one, of course, this is the obvious one. It is the Coliseum, which is still kicking in Oakland. They've actually, I do need to note this because they have removed all of their tarps around the upper deck that isn't Mount Davis. So you see those 3 sections, they've removed all the tarps there. I think they did it around 2 or 3 years ago. Those have been removed. But of course, Mount Davis is still covered with a tarp. It's been like that since before the Raiders even left. Fun fact on this, they actually had to start covering it because Raiders games were not selling out and they were facing local blackout restrictions because the NFL is so crazy. So they said, listen, because we can't sell out Mount Davis because it's 20,000 extra seats, we're just going to tarp the thing off. So technically, it's really not available to be purchased, and we can technically get a sellout with Mount Davis tarped off because those seats are unavailable, and then the people in the Oakland area will be able to watch the broadcast because the NFL does this thing where if you don't sell out, the game, they will not air the game in the local area that doesn't sell it out. So it's really confusing. But yeah, there's been a tarp on top of Mount Davis forever. They did remove it back in 2019 during the Bay Area series, and they had $5 ticket games for that. And there were people up there, and they broke some pretty impressive, attendance records and stuff. I think that's really cool to see that when it's the Giants and the A's playing in a fun little rivalry. It's really not much of a rivalry just because the A's at this point, I don't even think they're trying to contend. I mean, I understand, you've got teams like the Guardians and the Rays who do the money ball and their owners are really cheap. It's really sad. At this point, they're like a dead franchise that's just waiting to move. But yes, Mount Davis is virtually unavailable for every Rays home game, and it's been like that since forever. During the playoffs, there was a big dispute about whether or not they should keep Mount Davis tarped off, and they decided to keep it tarped off. During one of their playoff runs, they faced Detroit Tigers. That was like the Miguel Cabrera team, the Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander. Remember, I think Detroit made the World Series against the Giants and got swept that year after beating Oakland. The next thing we're going to be looking at is the absolute disaster that is the FedEx Field upper deck in Washington, home of the Commanders. Now, I mean, what do you even say about what's been going on with this upper deck? It's almost like what I'll equate it to, it's like bacteria eating away. Like each year, a little bit of the upper deck gets covered up, and we just keep seeing it, and it keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller because of the attendance issues, because it's the worst stadium in the NFL. And it's like you're taking an already bland stadium, and with every section of seating you're removing, you're just making it more ugly. It's like trying to fix a painting and making it worse. That's what I feel like they're doing with FedEx Field. And now you're at the point where it's unsavable. No matter what you do, you're not going to dump more money into it because, at this point, it's a complete lost cause. They're selling the team. They're going to get a new dome stadium probably by 2029 or 2030. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to, I guess all the seating is technically available. There's really nothing that's tarped off. But if you guys saw pictures of FedEx Field before and after, you see where I wouldn't even know what I could describe that as. It's like big plastic barriers that has seating under it. Right? And it's covered up. So it's not exactly tarp, but it is covered up. And they just keep eliminating sections of that upper deck. It's so sad. And hopefully they do something at some point to where they can get the team sold and get a new stadium pitched and ready in the very near future. ASAP. Next, we're going to be taking a look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is TIAA Field, which was previously known EverBank Field or EverBank Stadium. I think EverBank Field. They have a small stadium with low capacity, and we remember Jacksonville. I mean, you don't even have to remember. This was like 2 years ago, Jacksonville with Urban Meyer, but like Jacksonville was a joke. Now they've got Trevor Lawrence. We get it. They're young, they're getting better. We can appreciate that. But they were a joke for the longest time. They had huge attendance problems, and they actually would tarp off a few sections of their quote-unquote upper deck. And I use that term loosely because if you look at their stadium, it's such a small footprint. You would really think it's like a college stadium with how small it is. The upper deck, you can say it's very close to the field. That's probably one of the best upper decks in terms of NFL seating because it is so small overall. But they tarped off 2 sections on each side of their upper deck. And some people were trying to say, oh, it's for advertisement. No way. No way are you going to make it. When you tarp off sections, it makes it so ugly. There is no way. But those sections were not available, obviously, for the general public. And then I saw this. The LA Chargers, they played at an MLS soccer stadium when they were waiting for SoFi to get ready, and you can just take a look at the tarps going on there. I don't know what this was for, right? You would not think if an NFL stadium has a capacity of 20,000, you would think every game would get sold out no matter what. But I just thought that was a little fun Easter egg to throw in there. And then this is kind of a classic Candlestick Park. The way it was configured, because it was multi-purpose and it did host, MLB games, it's got that little crevice. If you look down where the first base line was, there's a section of seating that no matter what, and you could actually see this when watching San Francisco 49ers games, it would be a full sellout, but there would just be a crevice and a section that was kind of blocked off that had nobody there, and it was unusable for anyone to sit there because it was obstructed viewing. And it always made it look a little weird because they would sell out games and then there'd just be a random section of complete nothing. And then also you've got Sun Life Stadium, one of the OG multi-purpose stadiums. The entire upper deck, especially late in its life, just not available at all to be purchased or anything like that. It was a pretty massive stadium with, it being NFL. It got so bad. I mean, take a look at left field, the seating there, not available. just not available to be bought. Just normal left field seats closed because of how big the stadium is. That's the multi-purpose ugliness. And also, this is Miami we're talking about. They're not known to have great attendance. They even got the new stadium. Think about the Marlins now. They've got their brand new, well, I guess it's not brand new anymore, but they've got their new stadium, and you can't even go into the upper deck. They had to close it because they're getting like 5,000 people a game. It is very, very, very sad. But guys, those are just some parts of stadiums that are not usable for the general public or closed off that I wanted to go over. But that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.